Hi, welcome to another one of my videos. Today we're going to do some daisies. Here's the things you'll need if you want to paint along. I have some white, cerulean blue, and phthalo blue for my sky. So I'm just going to use one of these brushes. It's an inexpensive 2-inch flat bristly brush. I use a lot of white with a little phthalo blue through it. And I'm just going to make blotchy little marks, and I don't want them blended together. Right down, you can choose where it goes later that way. And I'm just going to use some white. Some of those spots where... Just go back and forth and play with your blue and your white until you get it how you want it. The idea is to make it blotchy looking. Yet somewhat blended. Now I take a little cerulean blue, put a little bit here and there, just for another little pretty color. For the clouds, I'm going to take this bristly brush, and I'm going to take the white and dab it. And I'm going to come up here and twirl some clouds in. I'm getting some blue off of it, but that's okay. I can highlight these. And use your wand. So just kind of twirl it in circular motions. Here. I hope you can see what I'm doing. It's pretty simple, easy to do. You leave some dark between the two clouds, and it'll give the illusion of distance. Clouds aren't any specific shape. I've got a bit of blue happening on there, but it's okay. If they don't come out white enough, afterwards we can highlight them a little bit. And as clouds get farther away, sometimes they look smaller, the ones in the distance. So that's quite a few clouds there, so I should probably stop for too long. And you can bring them down as far as you want, but I think we'll have a low horizon in this painting. A little face there. So without cleaning my brush now, I'm going to go into some sap green and yellow and some white and make a light green. And I'm going to create some distant trees and things for our background. We want these light, so just by dabbing with my brush in this for way back. And this is where you're forming your horizon line as well. So. And it'll look just like trees back there, distant evergreens and things. distance, kind of muted detail. And with a little bit of darker green, I have a hooker green it's called. As I come down, I'll just add a little bit. And I want my field to be a little bit flatter as I get closer to it, because it's turning from a forest into a field. I'll turn my brush this way at times. And you can still dab a few things up, but the idea is to start flattening it out a bit for our flowers, or whatever we're going to create down here. I want those variations of green, so I've got a little bit of dark and a little bit of sap. And I'm doing this with my brush now, and it's making grassy look just because of the way it's dark ones in the front. We don't want that all kind of solid looking, so keep your little dark areas like that. And you can put them back in if you overdo one color or the other. I'm just covering a little bit of those white spots I've got left. I'm just using those areas for highlighting. The idea is to get paint covered on all the canvas so none of it's showing through underneath. And at the same time, we don't make a solid color, so I'm selectively putting the highlights on. And I want this kind of muted a little bit now so that my daisies will show nice and their leaves. Do your little barn shape. Shadowed. Just taking a little brush to do this detail. And you can do as much or as little detail as you want. Depends on what you have time for. But if you do want to, then this video will help you. So with my filbert brush, just because it's got a nice little round tip and it's easy to handle, I'm going to put some black and brown and I'm going to make a little path coming out from my barn. Decide where I want it to go. And it's going to be really small further back. So I'm going to do a little detail on the barn with a close-up so you can see what I'm doing. So I got an old red barn and the silo, and I'm just going to put some dark crimson. Now I'm just going to put a little shape on it with some highlight color, which is just the pure light crimson. I'm going to use my finger there. I'm in a weird position to be doing this, so but I'm going to do the best I can. So there's a barn. The old barns had that kind of a shape first, and then they kind of came down straight. Here, a bit more different angle. And then, oops, maybe a little bit longer here. And it is an old barn, and it's in the distance, and we're going to have trees and flowers, so. Because they're already square, you can just touch it and make a little indication of some windows in the dark back there. And then here, maybe a bigger one, and I'll go across. And then a big barn door. I might just want to touch up my back of my barn. Have some little things coming down like this. That indicates old painted boards. Might want them to be a little bit brighter on the front. A little closer to the light, so kind of going to be coming from this way. Just a little few marks. And I'm going to get a little bit more black and put a few more little windows down here. It's a pretty big barn, so. Yeah, and I think that's enough for windows. Little shadow. My neck's getting a bit sore. I could keep going on forever. But what I will do, I'll have to stand up to do this. I'm going to touch along and make a nice edge there. And maybe along the top of the barn. It's okay for the barn roof to be sunken in a bit. If you look at some of the old barns, that's kind of what they're like. So with a small flat brush, I'm going to wet it and dry it. And I'm going to go into some black and brown. What I'll do is I'll put black on one side of my brush and touch the brown on the other. Keep the lighter side towards the sky, or say the light where you've decided the light's coming from, and with our highlighting we've decided it's coming mostly from this part of the sky. Okay, so I'm just going to put a tree back there. I'm going to use the sharp edge of my brush. Keep my brush straight out from the canvas. And use your brush to steer where you want to go. And when you're ready for it to be nice, come to a nice little point like a branch, you lift it. Almost like you're going to lift it off of this way. So that the brush is going, how can I show you this? On a little bit of an angle maybe, I'll show you. But I'd have it straight up, but I'll put it on the angle to show. And I kind of lift it, that's a bit thick because of my angle, but with the heel or the back, the bottom part of my brush. You can also use a little liner brush to make these lines, but this is a neat way to do it. Put as many branches as you want on there. Probably would do a few in the middle, make it look three-dimensional. We're going to put some leaves on there, so. Okay, that's a nice little tree there. And we'll put the leaves on after. So keep your little brush nice and sharp, straight out, and hold it. And just touch your canvas lightly for those fine little lines. A little liner brush would make them even finer, but I'm going to leave that back detail very blurred out. Maybe add some later. And the closer the trees are, the bigger they are. And the farther down they would come, because we're from this view here, so. Again, we're going to put leaves on here. These will make more sense after when we have these little details. Very faint back here. I don't want to do a lot, like I said. Okay. And we'll just let it fade out there. So I'll stay with my brown and black and my small little flat brush. Brown on one side and black on the other. Touch the brown side into a little tiny bit of white. Maybe some fence posts back here. And as they get closer, they get bigger. And you don't have to have much detail to them. And then as they get closer down the path, they also get farther apart as they get bigger. Gotta put a little detail on these closer ones. Just gonna put a little dab on the top to make it look like a highlight. want to make the tiniest little line. Just by touching, really. Go between the two. And as long as it's straight between the two, it can bend. It's like boards. You have to go on a slant when you're slanting down. Oh, my. Oops. Take that right off. And again, we take it right off the picture. We could do more detail. So if this fence came around, and then let's say it came along here again. And the square dance. Those circles, you can add some of these on these too. So, with these, they get bigger and you can see them clearer as they get closer. And they would get spaced farther apart. This one, we're just given the idea that it's going to come around here out of the picture and come back. Wood one there. As if it's connected to another one, maybe a little bit crooked. They're not always really straight. And we're going to presume that that's connecting at the other side, and then we don't have to worry about that detail there. Here it's going to end. So usually what they would have, would be one just going into the ground for a support. Highlight that. I'm highlighting just by putting light on one side of the brush. I think I'll do a few little evergreen trees before I put the leaves on my other trees. Okay, so I have a flat, round edge brush. It's a soft brush for acrylic. And it says size 8 on here. And some yellow on the other side. And I want to make it sharp. That's why I'm doing this. To make it nice and sharp. Little chiselly edge. Maybe I'll start with one right back in here. I'm just going to make little ones back in here because we have the barnyard to do the daisies in. These are just for the close-up ones, so you just make a little spot where I'm going to make it. I'm going to turn my brush this way now and lean it down a little and just push on it, and it makes little evergreen marks. Shadow behind. And while you've got that dark green on there, you could put a little shadow behind your pole as well. Don't really need much back there. We have to put it in sooner or later, so I'll do it while we have it on the little nice little round brush. Maybe a dark one right there. This one can come right into the into the little yard there. There's one little light ones back here. I'm just really putting a little touch. I don't want that to fade to nothing. Far away. Go up around the barn a bit. I'm just pushing, dabbing, pushing up on this little brush. Might take some practice, but makes a nice effect. I kept adding things with the zoom still on, so I added a few more evergreen trees. What I was thinking was, well, I'm going to do lots of daisies, but the sky seems fairly empty, so I think I'm going to bring this tree closer, put it right behind the fence, and then this way it'll come up in the sky and it'll balance out the fact that we have the barn over here. I don't want to cover up this little area because it kind of looks like a man's face there. It's kind of neat. Maybe the guy that owned the farm. So I have a 1/2 inch flat acrylic brush. I've put brown and black on one side and brown, and then I touched it in a little white. I'm going to load it up a little bit more even because we're going to do the tree trunk, so it doesn't have to be really smooth. So I want to bring the trunk down right to the behind this fence. So I'll start up here. And I've got the highlight on the wrong side, so I'll go like this. And you can make your tree gnarly, or I'm going to add a little more dark on this side. And you can make your tree wiggly. We'll put it right about there. That way we don't really have to. Would have been nice to bring them right up to the fence, but then we have to put this all back in, so that'll do. I've sharpened my brush, dark color on one side, lighter colors on the other. This time I'm going to have it, I like the light source to be coming, you know, maybe it's sunset over here somewhere, or it's going to rise over there. So I'm just going to make some bigger branches. Well, I did it again. Try light on the right side, make some bigger branches. It's kind of fun. You can create your tree, and remember we're going to put leaves on, and think about how big this tree would be compared to the fence. And trees are all different sizes, but a nice balance I'd say is to leave a, maybe just bring it up into the sky a bit here. I think we'll bring it up about to there. You can start from the top. We're going to put leaves on, but push harder as it comes down instead of the other way around.